What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another video. Before we get into the video topic at hand, let me just say one thing real quick. As far as popular characters go, kaiju, superhero, or otherwise, if you're a fan of a particular character, or kaiju, or whatever, there was obviously something about that character that made you a fan in the first place, whether they're cool, fun, or whatever the reason that made you a fan. You know what I mean? And more often than not, most of the popular characters that we see nowadays, at least those that have a strong longevity, you know, when it comes to films, TV shows, or whatever, more often than not, those characters are sometimes rebooted or revamped. And in some cases, they are rebooted and or revamped for the better. For example, these. And then there are some cases where those characters are rebooted for the worse and should be left alone. Like these. Wait a minute. That's the new Megazord? That's the new Power Rangers Megazord? Let me see that one more time. Yeah. Let's just say the classic was better. What is going on, people? LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju, and we are back with another X Plus figure review. And today we are doing the X Plus Gigantic Series Rig exclusive figure of the Dino Megazord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or as it's known in the Japanese, Daizjujin from Daizjujin Ranger. I'm not well versed in that, so sorry. I'm gonna refer to this as the Megazord because that's how I know it to be. You know what I mean? So even though I did give you the technical name for it in Japanese, but from moving forward, we will just refer to him as the Megazord or the Dino Megazord. And as you can see, I have the beautiful figure here, and it is beautiful. It is awesome. I want to give a huge shout out to Burley Vang. I managed to acquire this piece from him, I believe last year. Yeah, it was last year. And I want to thank him so much for doing that, because this really is a nice piece. And I'll go into the backstory in a few minutes. And I don't have the box. I got it all from Burley loose, you know, which is all I really wanted, you know. When it comes to situations like that, it would be nice to have the box, obviously, at least for me. But if not, it's the figure that what matters the most. So if the figure's in great condition, excellent condition, or what have you, as long as the figure's in good condition and all the components that come with the figure are there, that's all that matters. And it comes with the sword, it comes with the mastodon or mammoth shield, and it also comes with two separate hands, where you can exchange his fists, and he'll just have bald fists with nothing in it, without having the sword and the shield, you know, attached to it. You know what I mean? And it also comes with the stand where you can lift up the mastodon shield a little bit to, I guess, to support its weight, because it is a little bit heavy on his hand right here. But I don't necessarily need it. You know, I'm fine with the way it is. You know, and I'm finally getting to this review after months and months. You seeing this guy in the corner over there, and me saying at the end of my most recent videos, yes, I'm gonna get to it. Yes, I'm gonna get to it. Finally, I'm getting to it, and I couldn't be happier. All right. So the backstory about this figure is really not a long one. You know, it was dropped in 2016 around July, and it was a Rig exclusive. And back then, 2016 in July, I wasn't well versed in getting Rig boys. I mean, I had a few friends here and there that would hook me up here and there. I didn't have a dedicated person that I go to like Talaboo's Carson, you know, the way I do nowadays. So back then I wasn't well versed in getting rigs, and that's what you had to do. You had to find somebody that could help you get it, or if you could navigate through the Japanese website yourself, you were able to acquire this figure. And like I said, this figure dropped in July, and at the time I couldn't get it because 2016 was a year that had so many great releases, especially going towards the tail end of that year. It was just crazy. And between me getting a lot of the figures that came out that year, at least the big releases, in addition, I went to G-Fest that July, I just couldn't afford to get this guy. But once again, 2016 saw the release of the 30cm Batra, the 30cm 1954 Train Biter, the first edition of the Roaring Bluefin 2014 Godzilla, the gigantic 1962 came out, the bigger version of the X Plus Legion came out, the gigantic 54, gigantic Ultraman, gigantic Frozen Sugar Cake Godzilla, the gigantic Bluefin GMK. So yeah, there were a lot of figures that came out, and I just didn't have enough money in my budget that year to acquire this guy. And this was the one figure that basically got away from me that year. You know, of all the figures that I wish I could have gotten, that gotten away from me that particular year, this was the main one. You know, like last year, where I said that the third form of Shin Godzilla was one that got away, and I recently got my hands on that too. This is basically a thrill acquisition, because I didn't expect to get my hands on this thing, you know, but you know, luck found a way to open some doors for me, and thanks to my great friend, brother, Burley Vang, I was able to acquire this piece. So that's the story, the backstory behind me having this figure, getting this figure. And like I said, for so long, y'all been seeing him standing so statuesque in the corner, you know, and it's kind of hard not to miss him because, you know, he's multicolored with the black, red, blue, yellow. You know, it's kind of hard not to miss him. And I think he's a nice piece to have in the background, you know. But I've been talking about it. I've been teasing it. So now he's finally here. So let's get up close and personal with the X Plus Gigantic Series Daizjujin, or as we know it better here in the United States from the Morphin Power Rangers, the first Dino Megazord. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, here we are up close and personal with the Gigantic Series Dino Megazord, or Daizjujin. And as you can see, he looks really good. He looks so super accurate from the Megazord of the show. Like I said, very multicolored with the blackness of the Mastodon shield, you know, the red on his chest, as well as his head and his yellow eyes, and the blue on the Triceratops on his left foot, and the saber-tooth tiger, the yellow of the saber-tooth tiger on his right foot. And it looks really good. And it does come with some articulation, believe it or not. But I don't want to try it because it's not hard to do, but it's a little bit of effort will be required a little bit. I mean, especially with his head. Now, the reason why I'm not going to move it, because I like him looking like this. You know what I mean? He looks really good like this. Now, his arms, at least his fists. His fists can like pivot a little bit, especially when you hold the sword. So you can have that, you know, that option to move the sword and have it positioned on how you want to have it positioned. So it looks really good. And I like having my Megazord like this. You know, he's battle ready. And honestly, after watching much of the show, because, you know, I do love Power Rangers. I do love the first Power Rangers, the first show, the first few seasons of the first show. Power Rangers Zeo, I'm okay with to a certain extent. I love Power Rangers Turbo, but after that, after Power Ranger in Space, that's when I really dropped off from being a fan. And when Power Rangers Lost Galaxy came in, I was gone by that point. But it looks good. You know, S Plus has done a great job with this. You know, and according to an article written by the great August Ragone. Great kaiju historian. I'm sure you heard of that name before. We all know him. He mentioned in an article that X Plus was going to be doing like a Super Sentai Robo line, and this basically is the first of the line, the Daizjujin or the Dino Megazord, the first of the line. And I really hope that they go back to more mechas from the Super Sentai line. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or Power Rangers specifically, because I would love to see other Megazords come into the fray in the Gigantic series. As far as the Gigantic series, he stands at least 16 inches tall, so he is a good size. You know, he's not up there like, let's say, the Burning Godzilla or Shin Godzilla, but he is a good size, and he does stand well with those particular figures. But you'll see that in size comparison in a few minutes. But other than that, it looks really good. As you can see right here with his legs right here, it has like somewhat of some bends in it a little bit to basically recreate how the suit looked. You know what I mean? And that's what S Plus is known for. They go for they go for suit realism versus monster, or in this case, robot mecha realism. I really like that. I like how they really go for what we saw on film, you know? Maybe at some point they maybe will try their hand in making these monsters or these robots more monster-esque, I should say. You know, how they would look if they were a real life animal or a real life robot or whatever. I'm sure S Plus will probably go into that at some point once they have exhausted through all the ideas and all the monsters on the roster. I can see them doing that. But for right now, that's what S Plus is known for. They're known for, like I said, suit realism, and it looks really good. It does. And so let me turn this around here so you can see how the bat looks. You know, just great. It really is great. As well as right here, you know, because this was the Triceratops, and we saw the Triceratops, you know, was like a tank that would come into formation, kind of like the saber-tooth tiger when they would transform. So they basically got everything right with this figure, you know, and it looks really good. Not much to say about this figure, you know, because you know, it just basically speaks for itself. It really speaks for itself. And it looks really good. I'm glad I got this figure. Once again, this is the figure that got away from me in 2016. And thanks to a great friend of mine, I was able to acquire this down the road. And once again, I'm living proof that even if something gets away from you, collecting-wise, you can always try and find a way to capture it later on down the road. You know, it's not a question of if in this hobby, it's a question of when. And if you heard me say that many times in my videos, you already know that I'm living proof of that. Between this, the third form of Shin, the Kamada-kun, all those figures are basically passed on when they first got came up for pre-order. But I was able to acquire them in the aftermarket for a good price. And once again, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Looks really good. Megazord looks really good, especially the face. I'm gonna zoom up on the face real quick. Looks really good. To me, this is my favorite of the Megazords. I think he's the best of the Megazord. You can't go wrong with it, you know. Every Megazord since then, to me, with the exception of the Dragon Zord, those two are my top, in my opinion. You know, and every Megazord that came after then really had some tough shoes to fill. And in my opinion, some did. But for the most part, this is the best Megazord. The first true Megazord right here. You know what I mean? So let me get one more shot from head to toe, or in this case from saber-tooth tiger, triceratops toes, all the way up through his legs, mastodon shield or mammoth shield. The Dragon Zord, it has a name. I forgot what the name is, because like I said, I'm not well versed in the Japanese version of the show. Basically what they did, you know, as far as when they brought it over here and renamed it my Morphin Power Rangers, from a kaiju fan perspective, they basically Godzilla King of the Monstered it. Or in this case, Gigantus the Fire Monstered it. Because let's just say the acting on the show when it came to the American actors was not exactly the best in the world. But still, it's a great show. It really is a great show. And it brought back so many great memories. Me getting this figure brought back so many memories of the show. It really is a good show. It really is. So let's do one size comparison, and we'll wrap this review up with my thoughts of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers at the show. Alright, let's go with the first and only size comparison. Okay folks, this is the first and only size comparison, and alongside the X Plus Gigantic Series Dino Megazord, I have, of course, the famous, illustrious 1995 X Plus Gigantic Series Godzilla, or the Gigantic Series Daizjujin, or the Burning Godzilla, whatever you want to call him. So many different names, but he's awesome. And they both look awesome together, as a matter of fact. And of course, these two have never appeared together on film, on a TV show. But you know, they both were made in the 90s. You know, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were made in the 90s, and of course, Godzilla vs. Destroyer was made in 1995. So it's, you know, it's nice to see these two together, you know, and just have your imagination run wild to see what would happen involving these two going at it. In my opinion, I think Godzilla would have killed the Power Rangers in this case. But that's the good thing about having being a collector, and you have all these random figures in your collection, or random figures that you acquire over a period of time. You can put random figures together that have no history between them, and just let your imagination run wild, you know. But it would have been nice to see these two together in a film, TV show. You know, kind of like what happened with Zone Fighter back in the day when Godzilla appeared on a TV show with Zone Fighter, and they teamed up together to fight monsters. It would be nice to see Godzilla team up with the Megazord and take down monsters, you know. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it with the first and only size comparison. I'm not going to drown the figure in size comparisons. I just want to give you, if you do get this figure, the Megazord, I just want to show you how it stacks up with other figures. Like I said, he stands at least 16 to 17 inches tall, where the Burning Godzilla right next to it is obviously he's at the 18 mark, at least under 19, just a shade under 19. But as you can see, they look great together. They really do. Alright, so let's go with my thoughts on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or just the Power Rangers show as a whole, as far as I'm concerned. Once again, this is from my perspective, it's from my viewpoint. Please take it into consideration. I never boasted about being the most hardcore Power Rangers fan, because I'm not. I'm just giving you from my perspective. As far as the figure itself, like I said, the Megazord, this is probably if not the most super accurate, probably one of the most super accurate Megazords out there. Because I'm sure there are a lot of toy companies that have made this version of the Megazord, and maybe there are some products out there that's more accurate than this one. But for me, for what I've seen online or whatever, this Megazord, like I said, if not the best or the most super accurate, is one of the most super accurate and one of the best. So if you can't get your hands on this figure at some point, you know, he's kind of hard to find right now because, like I said, he dropped in 2016 and he's very, very scarce in the aftermarket. And not to mention, it was a Rick exclusive. So trying to find him is going to be hard to find. Price-wise, when it first came out, he was like around maybe $250 shipped, $275 shipped. And let's just say the prices that are going for him nowadays, if you do find one, are going to be up there. So if you're trying to find one for a good price, or just a price in general, be prepared to spend some money if you really want it. I think it's a nice investment. As I always say, don't go overboard with the investment. But if you're a Power Rangers fan, if you love the Megazord, you know, whatever, and you just want to have a great quality Megazord collectible piece, I believe the X Plus Gigantic Series Megazord is the one for you. I really do. And I highly recommend it. Alright, so let's finish this review up. Okay, folks, final thoughts, and let's just say, yes, I love this figure. I'm glad I got my hands on it. Like I mentioned earlier, if not the best, it's super accurate. One of the best super accurate Megazords out there. Anything more than this, it will be exactly the Megazord from the show. You know what I mean? S Plus got it right with it. I don't see any imperfections or anything exaggerated or anything out of place or whatever. It's awesome. It really is a great, great piece. I'm really glad I got my hands on it. Like I said, it got away from me, but I got my hands on it, so that's all good. It's all good. And honestly, I think the timing of it was kind of like off as far as X Plus is concerned. I think the time to release this figure, because what I would have done if I was in charge of X Plus, like I said, this dropped in 2016, but we all know that the rebooted Power Rangers movie came out, I think, of March of 2017. And I think that you probably would have gotten a lot more sales, at least to a lot of Power Rangers fans or Power Ranger collectors, fans out there, if X Plus would have dropped this like around the same time when the movie came out. Because that's what happens whenever a movie based off an old TV show, old character, an old concept, you know, for the nostalgia bug, a lot of folks are going to go back and watch the older stuff, you know, to get their minds right when they see the new rebooted stuff. So I think from a business standpoint, it would have been better for X Plus to drop this figure around March of last year. You know what I mean? But by it being a Rick exclusive and it was dropped a year earlier, you know, only a select few of collectors knew that this piece was coming. But if we're up to me, I would have dropped this around, like I said, March of last year. And I would have had at least a standard release also. I would have had the standard release be just a Megazord, you know, without his weapons or anything like that. And have the Rip Boy come with the sword and the shield, and maybe go one step further and give him maybe light up eyes, something like that, just to, you know, have more of a viable Rip Boy option. But that's what I would have done. And it's a shame that this figure is not in the hands of a lot of collectors, or it could have been pushed to the mainstream public. Because this really is a quality piece, you know? And I'm not a super huge fan of the show. I mean, I like the show, don't get me wrong, but I'm not super into it as I am with Godzilla and Kaiju and all the other stuff. But I do like the show. So if I feel this way about the show, imagine how a super hardcore fan would have felt if they had a chance to own this figure themselves, you know? But like I said, it was a limited release. But I think there was a lot more money to be made on the table for a lot of Power Rangers fans out there, Power Ranger figure collectors out there. And I'm sure they would have jumped all over this piece, you know, had it been a standard, you know, whatever release of it. So that's a shame. But that's why, you know, it was more of a thrilling acquisition for me to find one after the fact, especially a year after the fact. So that's good. As far as the show, like I said, I like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show. Power Rangers Zeo, it's okay. I kind of jumped back in it with Power Rangers Turbo. I don't know why. For some reason, I like Turbo. You know, I've heard Turbo from some people say it's like one of the worst of the series. To me, I like Turbo, you know. But after Power Rangers in Space, the following show after Power Rangers Turbo, I kind of watched it like seldomly. Then once Power Rangers Lost Galaxy came into the fray, that's when I really stopped, you know. But I love everything about the first season. You know, the first team. I especially love the stuff with the Green Ranger stuff. I don't have a particularly favorite episode, but anything involving the Green Ranger, especially the Dragonzord, I love. I love the Dragonzord. Maybe because it reminds me of Mechagodzilla. I'm sure that's why it is. But yeah, I do love the show. As far as like the Megazord and the Megazord incarnation that came after this one, I have to say when they destroyed the Dinozords, I was kind of bummed. You know, when they went to the Thunderzords, you know, where the Tyrannosaurs became the red. I think the Red Dragonzord, I believe. I think the Mastodon became the Black Lion Zord. The Triceratops became the what was the Triceratops? Triceratops became, oh, the Unicorn Zord. The Saber-Tooth Tiger became the Griffin, and I think the Pterodactyl became the Firebird Zord. It's kind of hard to keep track. But I do, like I said, I do love certain Megazords besides this one. As a matter of fact, I think I have a total of six favorite Megazords, at least Zords in general, besides this one. And I love the Thunder Megazord. I love the Ninja Megazord. I love the Shogun Megazord. I love the Dragon Zord. And I love, from Turbo, I love the first Turbo Megazord. I don't really like the Rescue Megazord from Turbo. But those are the Megazords that I like. I wasn't really a big fan of the White Tiger Zord. You know, like I said, I'm a lapsed fan at best. You know, I don't know everything about the show, which is why the video is not going to be that long in comparison to other videos. I know just a little bit, but I'm not going to try and portray that I know a lot of the show, because I really don't. But I know enough where I know I need to have this in my collection. And like I mentioned earlier with the August Margoni article that he wrote, I hope X Plus goes back to that. I hope X Plus goes to this Super Sentai Robo line, because so far he's the only one in the line. And I hope that, you know, they will introduce other Megazord incarnations. My dream figure from that line will, of course, be a Gigantic Series Megazord. Excuse me, a Gigantic Series Dragonzord. And considering what happened this past weekend at Wonderfest in Japan and what was teased, I would say that it has nothing to do with the Dragonzord, but considering what was teased, it makes the possibility of having a Dragonzord a lot more possible now. But I'll talk more about Wonderfest in my next video. But once again, I hope the Super Sentai Robo line S Plus goes back to that. Like I said, I want to see at least a Thunder Megazord, a Ninja Megazord, a Shogun Megazord, and a Turbo Megazord. You know, but I hope that they do go back to that. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun line to get into. It's not super expensive like you would know with other Gigantic Series figures. It's quite affordable to a certain extent. So knock on wood and cross our fingers. Let's hope that they go back to that. Whether it's Megazords or other mechas or robots from the Super Sentai line. Again, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm sure I'm unaware that I know a lot of folks are, that maybe, you know, maybe there's something that you want to see from the Super Sentai Robo line. But like I said, I hope X Plus does go back to that. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus Gigantic Series Rick exclusive figure of the Dino Megazord or Daizjujin from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section or hit me from Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers, and we definitely will go from there. Yes, once again, I'm happy I got it. I'm happy it's finally here. You know, after a year after it came out, and a year later, I was able to get my hands on it, and here I am a year later doing a review on it. After y'all been seeing it so much in the background, you know, just standing there looking so good, and I've been talking about it. I'm gonna get to it, and I finally got to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad I got it. If you're able to get your hands on this figure for a good price, that's the thing. He may be out there, like I said, by him being so scarce and him being an Rick exclusive, and with him dropping 2 years ago, he's going to be hard to find. And if you do find one, you're going to spend some money for it. I always say make the best choices investment-wise for you. I don't suggest you go overboard with the investment or spend too much for it, because you never know. X Plus may reissue this guy down the road. So you have, you know, a choice. Either you can wait for X Plus or you can jump on it at that particular price. Then, like I said, don't go overboard with the investment. But if it's worth it to you, and if you have the money for it, and if you have no issue with dropping a little bit of money for it, I say go for it. It is a quality piece. And like I said, it's probably the best Megazord out there from any of the other toy companies, and that says a lot. You know what I mean? With so many toy companies out there producing great products, and to have this be at the top of the list, or one of the ones at the top of the list, you can't go wrong. So if you can't get your hands on this figure, you would not be disappointed with the X Plus Gigantic Series Rick exclusive figure of the Dino Megazord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So lots and lots of stuff is coming here on the channel. I'm gonna do the Sakai 54 review. I got the Favorite Sculptors line Godzilla 1962 is coming. It should be here in like in the next week or so. What else? 25 centimeter and 30 centimeter Varan. That's coming. So a lot of stuff is coming here on the channel. So please stay tuned. And also please stay tuned to the end of this video, and you'll see something else that is coming up for review later on Leslie Chambers Type Reviews. And I can't wait to review that figure. Alright, so I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this figure move review. Alright, y'all take it easy.